Hi, I'm Dawn, and this is where Shabby meets Bling. Today's project revolves around a true roadside find. I was driving home from a friend's house quite a while back, and I'm always on the lookout, and you should be too, because you find the most amazing things. I glanced down a side street, and I was lucky enough that this was the day before trash pickup, and there sits this. Today we're going to take that beautiful little roadside find and we are going to enhance her and change her and give her a makeover and literally give her life.
Before we get started, I would like to thank Annie from Crafting with Indie Annie Jones for hosting this From Showers to Flowers collaboration, where we're going to give you creative ideas for spring. And I'd also like to thank our guest host, Bobby from Arrows DIY. Now let's take a good look at this chair. She is in bad condition. She's chipped, she's cracked. The upholstery is just horrendous. But what do you expect if you were sitting out on the curb for days? And it's old. She is an oldie, and I'm not sure of the exact date, but here nor there, her shape is gorgeous and unusual, and we're going to transform this little lady into something magnificent. Before we can start making her beautiful, we have to get rid of all that is ugly. And step one is to get rid of all of the upholstery. And whoever did this did it well. I need a clean slate, so this is where we begin. Now that those 500 staples are removed, I can peel back not only the upholstery fabric itself, but the foam. And it's attached in a weird way. There are tufted buttons that are attached through the upholstery straps themselves. So it's given me a little bit of a fight, but everything worthwhile is worth an effort. Once the seat upholstery is removed, I move on to the back of the chair. And this proves to be no quicker than the seat. So it's a really good thing I have upholstery staple removing equipment. These little tools are super duper handy, especially if you do work like this very often. This is a Rust-Oleum cabinet deglosser, and it came in a kit, but I'm telling you, I've got a ton of this, and it is the best stuff ever for taking away that glossy finish if you intend to paint or do something else to a piece of wood. Heck, I've even used this stuff on things that definitely are not wood, and it works. So good stuff. Thank you, Rust-Oleum. I give it a good scrub. You scrub it down really well. You leave it sit for 5 minutes. And then I come back in and I scrub it again. And I'm just using an old toothbrush because in little tiny cracks and crevices, it really works well. Next, I come back in with a rag and warm water and I wipe it down really well. Wipe it down a couple of times and then dry it off. Then we can move on to my favorite thing. And we all know what that is. Paint. So say it with me. Let's paint. I am using 2 different colors of Rust-Oleum gray spray paint because I am aiming to achieve a certain look. And gray is imperative. I am actually alternating between both cans from one color to the other and back again. I want this to be just so subtly blended from the darker gray to the lighter gray and little splotches here and there because I am trying to achieve a certain look with this paint. Once I finished painting, I did a faux rusting finish on this chair. I will be doing a full video on how to add a faux rusted finish to not only wood but to metal and how to actually age different metals. Now I'm using chicken wire to basically turn the entire chair into a giant frog because we are gonna plant this chair with live greenery when we're done, so it will become a living chair. I am following the natural lines of the chair and stapling my chicken wire in place all the way around the perimeter of the chair. As I go, I trim off extra wire and I sculpt it to be uniform like the back of a chair naturally would be. And I just fold under my wire and gently sculpt it so it has almost the same look as it did when it originally had upholstery on it. Once the back is done, I move on to the seat. And I treat it the exact same way as I did the back. And I'm starting at the rear of the chair. That way I can have better access to it, to staple it and begin the sculpting process. Once I have the back and the front uniform, I move on to the sides. And same process here. I tuck it, trim where needed, and staple it in place so that it appears to look just like an upholstered seat. The first steps are complete, and I mean, seriously, you could leave it like this if you wanted. It looks kind of cool, but my whole plan is to plant this little guy, so let's move on to the next step. My first layer is going to be some moss, and it is that forest green moss, the natural dried, and I am taking it and I'm shoving it into every little nook and cranny, and I'm going to cover the entire base of chicken wire, and it needs to be tight because keep in mind there's other layers coming in here so we can actually plant this. Now I'm adding peat moss, and I'm adding a really decent layer here. We're looking at maybe like 2 inches. This chair base is deep and it needs to be packed full. Layer 3, potting soil, and layer 4, some more peat. I seal this little 4-layer salad with a piece of landscaping fabric, and I staple it tight all the way around the bottom. I trim off any excess I have, and then I'm going to add a pre-cut piece of corrugated plastic. So it has a more finished look. I even cover the corrugated in that landscaping fabric. And I tuck in all the little parts that are left hanging out, and I staple it very firmly. I'm almost using as many staples now as what I took out of it at the beginning. The only difference in the way I treated the back of the chair versus the seat of the chair is that I'm not adding that layer of corrugated. This is a layer of the landscaping fabric, and now I'm going to add a layer of moss. This moss is going to be visible. I am not planting the back, and I want a very beautiful finished back. Now I'm going to add some chicken wire as kind of a finishing touch. And I'm just going to form it into place and staple it, just like I did all the other chicken wire on the entire chair. Trim, tuck, sculpt, and staple until the entire back of the chair is ready for planting. Here she is, ready to be planted. And I have to say, I was very tempted to leave it just like this. I absolutely love this, and I thought about adding all the little details to it just like this. I almost wish I had 2 of these chairs, but no, that's not the plan. We're gonna plant her. These are hens and chicks, and that is what I'm going to be planting in our chair. And I'm just taking them very carefully, working them. I'm very careful with the scissors. I'm tucking, I'm not digging at them, and placing them into the soil within the chair. And you need to kind of have some kind of layout plan in your mind, because hens and chicks are all different sizes. And you just very gently, one at a time, tuck them in, and continue. The seat was far easier, of course, because it's on a horizontal plane. The back of the chair, when I got to some of the bigger chicks, I should say hens, I tilted the chair backwards to make it a little more easy to get them in place. And I just, once again, poke a hole into the soil and gently work the roots into the soil. For finishing details, I made quite a few metal buttons filled with foam since they're going to be outside, and these are going to replace the original tufting buttons on the chair. Since they will be outside, I am adding some glue to make sure that they do not come apart.
I'm done planting, and we're going to take a look at her. But keep in mind, this project had many stages where she was beautiful, and if you decide to try this, you can use any of these levels. I loved the moss chair, absolutely gorgeous, and I may recreate that. But she's totally planted in my garden, and let's take a look at her.
This old rusty lantern is what gave me my inspiration to try to duplicate that on wood on the chair. And I think we did pretty good. She looks rusty. She looks old. She is old. She is old. But now she has new purpose. Not destined for the landfill, but just looking ever so beautiful in a yard, in a garden. Here you get a good look at the buttons that I made, and I rested them. I did the same technique on the ribbon that is around the base of the chair, of the seat. And I can't wait till she fills in, till she starts to grow. Here you get a really good look at that metal ribbon that I rusted, and I attached it with thumbtacks, which I also rusted. Once again, I'd like to thank Annie from Crafting with Indie Annie Jones and Favi from Arrows DIY for hosting and co-hosting this From Showers to Flowers collaboration. The links to both of their channels and the playlist will be in the description below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, share it with family and friends. You can show your support of this channel by subscribing. Ring the bell for notifications of all my upcoming videos. And for now, this is Dawn with Shabby Meets Bling. Thanks so much for stopping by. We will see you next time.